Okay. So, answering the second question or the first question about how can I become an intentional teacher in my content area? So, my area is elementary education. Some specific behaviors in my generalist classroom that I would conduct as an intentional teacher would be to not just give busy work, but activities that engage and excite students across all subjects, and giving students an opportunity to participate during a lesson. And so I've only ever substitute taught in the past, but from personal experience, I know that when I'm just standing up there and just kind of reading off of a script, and just kind of telling them, you know, go through your textbook and read pages 42 through 45 and then answer these questions. That's not super interactive. That's busy work in my mind. And I generally see the students as like disengaged, and they often get off topic when they're told to do work like that, whether it's kind of more fun work or like actual content specific work. It's just not very engaging or exciting, and you can't really get them involved very well in that, especially as a substitute teacher when you don't have a relationship established. And so something more like, giving them tools to work on, or work with, like in a math lesson when you're giving them those little cubes that they can, take apart, put together, for like adding and whatnot. That like um, kind of what do you call that, tactile learning, where they get to do that hands-on experience and you're talking them through it, and it's an activity, you're making something out of it. They're more engaged and they're learning.
Yeah,
Um,
it keeps them busier too, having that, something to do.
yes, exactly. It keeps their hands busy and they're not all over the place. It gives them something to do. Um, and so also allowing them to use their individual skills toward their classroom goals is really important, because every child is different and they all have different skills, and allowing them to use those skills, I think, really allows them to flourish. Working hard as a teacher to ensure students succeeds no matter their situation or skill set. Um, like I just said, every single student is different. So you just kind of, while addressing everybody's skills, you kind of have to tailor things to them. Um, and then knowing their developmental needs. So while most students will be at the same developmental level, not all of them will be, and so some of them need a little bit more help while some of them need a little bit less. Teaching the evolving forms of technology, having students work in groups, solving problems by reading and thinking critically. That's something, most of these are pretty much directly from the book, but that is something as well, that kind of really stuck out to me, because it's getting the students involved. It's using tools that are not just like old tools that like don't really apply anymore in the
Right.
real
You
world.
just kind of got to grow
Yeah,
with it. It's ever changing.
yes, exactly. And then adapting and teaching them the ever changing technology so that they can adapt too. um, and then discipline with intentionality, so not just getting onto them, especially not in anger or with emotion, but making sure that they understand why their behavior or something that occurred isn't right, and how you want them to fix it, not because you're mad at them or whatever it is, but because you want better for them and you want better for the classroom.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my answer to that question.
Okay, well, let's go on with the next one. So I did what does it mean to be an intentional teacher? And kind of like how you talked about the tools and stuff, I kind of went that route too. Um from the book, what I took away was an intentional teacher has to be a certified or on the path to being certified teacher that has educational tools like this class is one of them. The psychology part of education, I think teachers kind of skip And I think a lot of our kids right now, we're dealing with social emotional problems because of COVID. I mean, I work right now with the younger children, so I'm seeing, kids come out of homes that have been sheltered for 2 years, those are the kind of tools and where this psychology, I think, is going to come and play a big part in the next generation coming up. It helps face daily, an intentional teacher helps face the daily problems of teaching. It also emphasizes that, qualities and knowledge are not enough for a teacher to be intentional. You've got to have the teacher efficacy. And that's probably my favorite part of this chapter when I read that. The belief that what he or she does makes a difference, the heart of an intentional teacher. You have to have the heart in it. And I used to say, all you have to have is the heart, but I mean, you have to have the skills, you have to have the knowledge, you have to be able to put those to work, but you can't do it with just one or the other. You have to have all of it.
Yes.
They're always asking what goals they and their students are trying to accomplish. So setting goals is a big thing for an intentional teacher. You want your kids to succeed. I mean, I've seen the kids fall through the cracks. I've seen them, even at young ages, and it kills me to watch that. And an intentional teacher will have those goals set up, and that's what she's going to be pushing for, or he's going to be pushing for. Being an intentional teacher also is the know-how of transmitting the skills and information that the teacher has to the student. So there's a pathway. You've got to know what you're talking about, and you got to know how to get them to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Experience was listed in the book as well. That's all rolled into being an intentional teacher. The experience provides knowledge of the principles for effective teaching and how to apply those principles. And one thing they mentioned was observation and practice are a must. And I think that, like how you said, you do like the subbing and stuff like that. And I think that's the gateway, to getting into education, because you kind of see, you're there, but you're still on the outside still, kind of getting and I haven't ever done the sub teaching. I've only been in pre-K is the oldest I've ever been with. So when I get into this whole K-6 thing and have to go in and student teach, I'm just going to be, but I think it's going to open up doors. It's a whole new experience for me. It said to come to a consensus on what an intentional teacher definition is. And I went to the intentional teacher.org to the teaching philosophy values, and I found a good little paragraph in there. And it kind of talks about what the definition of an intentional teacher is. An intentional teacher acts with knowledge and purpose to ensure that young children acquire the knowledge and content skills they need to succeed in school and in life. So they're making sure, not just in school, they're going to make sure they're going to succeed everywhere else as well. Intentional teaching does not happen by chance. It is planful, thoughtful, and purposeful. Intentional teachers use their knowledge, judgment, and expertise to organize learning experiences for children. When an unplanned situation arises, as it always does, they can recognize a teaching opportunity and take advantage of it too. And that's one thing we do as well here in pre-K. Like the other day, the kids found what they call an elephant bug on the playground. It is not any kind of lesson right now during, talking about bugs or anything, but we got it ours. That's where we turn to. So, we did the next 2 weeks talking about this elephant bug and different bugs. And I mean, it's just part of teaching. Intentional teaching means teachers act with specific outcomes or goals in mind for all domains of children's development and learning. Academic domains, literacy, mathematics, science, and social studies, as well as what have traditionally been considered early learning domains, social, emotional, cognitive, physical, and creative development, all consist of important knowledge and skills that young children want and need to master. Intentional teachers therefore integrate and promote meaningful learning in all domains. So I think it's not just one little definition. It's going to be everything, like an intentional teacher has like 50 million different qualities or goals or, things about that person to help teach these young littles.
Yes, absolutely. Like there's a lot of different aspects to it, you know, socially and
Right.
emotionally, and also academically. You have to be so many different things at once, and it all has to work together to become exactly what you need it to be, if that makes sense.
Right. And I mean, I think that's kind of where your question ties into my question. And it just, you know, you've got to have all those behaviors that you're going to have to be that intentional teacher. I mean, that's where it starts to me.
Yes, exactly. You need to have those behaviors and those mindsets and those skills to do that. So, yeah.
All right.